Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner, and we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be bringing insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as running tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we're sitting down with Nev Schulman, who is a well-known TV presenter and father of 3. He's a long-time runner, having completed countless New York City marathons after being inspired from watching the finish line of New York Marathon ever since he was a kid with his father. He unfortunately recently suffered after having an awful bike accident, which he's managed to recover from just in time for this year's race, and he completed it guiding a blind person to the finish line. It's an incredible episode, and he's an incredibly inspiring man. So enjoy.
Hey, Nev, how are you?
Great.
Amazing. Well, I guess we're all sitting here feeling a little tired after the marathon yesterday.
Yeah.
But the thing we want to know is, what is it that got you started with your running journey back on day one?
There's 2 answers to that question. The first answer is that my father, who was and still is a great athlete, he loved running. And when I was growing up, he was really into running. He had run a New York City Marathon. He had even organized and sponsored a few half marathons in Westchester, and is good friends with a family, in a New York family called the Rudens, who have been since the first and continue to be one of the lead sponsors of the New York City Marathon. So we have a connection to the New York City sort of running world. And so every first Sunday of November, my dad, who I would spend weekends with, who happens to live across the street from the park right where the finish line is, our tradition was always to walk down and watch, the finishers come across the finish line. So I grew up with that seed in my head of like the importance of this race and this day and Fred LeBeau and the whole history of New York City and running and my dad. And it always was in my collective conscious. Anyway, fast forward to 2015, spring or summer 2015, and I had driven up to Connecticut to spend a weekend with my friend Casey Neistat, and I didn't know it, but he had signed up for a triathlon sprint that weekend. So Friday evening, I get there and he says, "Hey, Nev, I'm doing this event tomorrow morning. You should do it with me." and I was like, "Okay, sure." And I had 0 adult training in any of those 3 disciplines. I always, was fit, but like no formal training. Anyway, he borrowed a pair of sneakers for me from his neighbor over here, and then the other neighbor lent me a bicycle, and I did it. And it was so hard because the swimming was crazy, even though it's not that long. I know people watching this be like, "Oh, it's just a sprint," but like I don't swim,
Yeah. And you had what, like 24 hours of prep?
Not even.
Yeah.
Like 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I did the swim. I got through it. That was the hardest. The biking was, comparatively very easy. And then the 5K went pretty well. And I remember after that realizing I'm so competitive and I love group sports, but I'm not going to join like, an intramural softball team. Like that's not my vibe, right? But racing is so fun. And as an adult, there are these races all the time that you can compete in, and I just was hooked. And I signed up for the New York City Marathon that year with the hopes of creating a family legacy of running a sub-3 as my dad had in his New York City Marathon. I didn't know how hard that was going to be. It took me 3 tries, and by the time I finally did it, I was so hooked on running that I've just been running ever since.
Wow. And so with this first this is an incredible story. And with your first triathlon, did you beat Casey?
And last, first and
only.
only.
Last. Did your competitive spirit mean that you beat Casey or not?
No, he crushed me. Okay. No, because he at the time and arguably still is incredible in far better shape, especially with the other, he had been training for triathlons. Yeah. He did an Ironman. That guy, But I did get sub-3 before him.
Nice. So fast forwarding as well, Casey then did his PB and sub-3 yesterday.
That's right.
And a faster time than you've done, is that right?
It was faster.
So does that mean this time next year you're taking on...
Well, yes. Technically, the simple answer is yes, I'm going to try and defend the sort of New York City Marathon PR or PB. Although to be fair, met and trained with Roberto, the coach who trained and ran with him first. And once he started working with Roberto, he got the time. So, it's the magic sauce here is really just Roberto or the right coach.
Yeah.
Or a coaching app.
Well, so what we need to do is we're going to get you dialed in on Runna, and you're going to beat Casey. And then what we'll do is we'll blacklist his email address. So then he won't be able to train with us. And he'll never be able to take your new title.
It's funny you should mention that, because I was training with Runna this summer for the Great North Half. And I was really getting right up to that peak. I was definitely going to PR the half, and then I was going to roll that right into December for anyway. And then I hurt my neck. But I was still in such good training shape from that even with the 6 weeks completely off and then slowly building back up, I'm still pretty pleased with my ability to jump in and do the marathon yesterday.
Well, I think, your training was clearly going super well. Tell us about what happened to your neck in the run up to the half and the marathon.
So actually, it was exactly 3 months ago today or tomorrow. I can't remember. But I was just out in Long Island riding my e-bike to pick up my kid from camp. And I misread or misjudged a traffic pattern. There was no bike lane. I tried to merge into traffic. Car stopped short in front of me, and I ran into it and ended up breaking my neck, fracturing my neck, and needing an emergency spine surgery. Incredibly, I did not have any paralysis, just some nerve damage from my spinal cord, but the operation was successful. I wore a brace for 6 weeks, and actually I took it off a little before I was supposed to, but as soon as I was cleared by the doctor, I started running again, and that was mid-September.
Wow. I mean, the pace of that recovery is incredible, which probably just speaks to the type of condition and health that you were holding yourself in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's weird to think of the lucky way to break your neck, because it's but if you, of all the ways it could have gone, the type of injury I had and the procedure that was required in order to fix it, and the ability for my neck to heal naturally without any hardware, all of those factors, I think, played a huge part in a speedy recovery.
And I saw that you came here today holding your bike helmet.
I still riding my
Do you feel
e-bike.
any different riding your bike, or you're just the same as before?
Well, look, I have in my older age become a much more mature, safe cyclist and driver, and just sort of general person who doesn't take risks as much. And I wasn't taking any risks or doing anything irresponsible when I got into my accident. I mean, I use it for transportation. I'm not like an extreme cyclist. So I've definitely been extra cautious. But it's still, I think, the best way to get around, and I can't give it up.
I mean, I cycle to work in London every day. Yeah. So no, I'm fully with you there. And so I guess, obviously, seeing the marathon finishing every time, and obviously this lit the fire of this triathlon. How long ago did you run your first marathon, and was the first one New York?
Yeah, so my first marathon was New York City, 2015.
2015. And how did it go?
It went pretty well. I trained enough, and I think I am naturally built. So what was exciting for me was that when I found running as an adult, having only ever just sort of played casual sports growing up, it became clear to me that I had discovered something that I am naturally good at. And there aren't a lot of, it's hard to find, especially a sport that you can just sort of pick up and be good at. And so with my first attempt in New York City, I ran a 3:34, which...
That's an amazing first time. Especially in New York. For those who haven't ran New York, Annie and I found out yesterday that it's a really hard course. Yeah,
right.
Probably 5 or 10 minutes harder than
it's
equivalent.
Tough. So I was pleased with that, but I knew I needed to take it a lot more seriously. Year 2, I ran a 3:21, which is when I kind of discovered my threshold for safe, healthy training, and the sort of speed work you have to do in order to get faster has to then be coupled with injury prevention and cross training. And I didn't really know any of that at the time. So I was just running faster and I was getting hurt. So my third attempt is actually when I found out what my exact threshold was because I was in shape in 2017 to run a sub 3. I trained with Roberto, and in September I ran a 5K fundraiser race.
Yeah.
My back was hurting a little bit after it, and then I ran the Fifth Avenue mile, and like 3 or 4 strides into the mile, I felt a lightning bolt that just like shot up my whole back, and I didn't know what it was, and I thought about stopping, but it was sort of like it would have been kind of humiliating to like stop after the first 10 meters in a mile. You know, I was like, oh, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. So I ran the mile and then discovered I had herniated a disc pretty badly and spent the next 2 months like bent over in a lot of pain. And then I was like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I really have to sort of build a whole foundation of full body maintenance and health and start seeing a, PT and sports therapist and like really take it more seriously and stretch.
Yeah.
Before and after runs.
Yeah.
And so I did that the following year and actually, I did it. I got my sub 3.
Your dedication to like getting back after injury, like talk about your back injury. I remember hearing about it in the office and it like sent shivers through me. And some people would be so scared to just pick up running again after that. And it sounds like it was one of the first things you wanted to do and missed. And then even with that back injury you're talking about, like, yeah, it sounds like you couldn't wait to like get back and train and be better and learn from it.
Yeah, it's true. It continues to surprise me because I have a personality that tends to shy away from difficult commitment tasks. And that's mainly because in order for me to commit to something that is difficult, I have to really love it. I need to be inspired.
Yeah.
And as an adult, running was one of the few things that I discovered that I just wanted to do. And, like you could ask me to do something for 5 minutes. If I'm bored, I won't make it. But an hour and a half run, like, yeah, absolutely. Great. Can't wait. So that's really been the thing for me that has continued to prove itself, that even after injury or failures at achieving my goal, like I just want to get back out there and do it again. What was interesting though, and I think this is something that maybe you talk about or not, but there definitely was a big kind of like come down after I did my sub 3 where I thought like, okay, now what? Like
it's a bit of like gold medal syndrome.
Right.
They're like, once you've done your gold medal, which is this challenge that you bet your friend that you'd never do and you did it, and now what do you go on to do?
And there really isn't a faster time that I think is achievable that's meaningful. Like, yes, I set a PR for 2:55. Sure. But like no one's going to care that much other than maybe me. I'm not going to run a 2:30. So like I didn't know what to do with myself. So the next year I just sort of had fun and ran it for fun because it wasn't fun doing a sub 3.
No.
And that was nice. And then I did it again sort of similarly. And I just kind of kept asking myself over and over, like, okay, well, why do I keep doing this?
Did you find an answer?
I did. Well, the answer was twofold. One was that I need something in the calendar to look forward to. A date, an action, and more importantly, to like motivate me to stay fit. I figured at the very least, this will be my baseline. As long as I am physically able, I'll sign up for a marathon every year, and it'll just be this way of checking in with myself to make sure that like I'm doing what I need to be doing to make sure I can sort of, like a fitness test every year. And that was okay for a little while. And then in 2022, I was a little injured, but I tried to run it anyway, and I ended up quitting at mile 11, which was the first time I've ever done that. And I was really bummed about it. I didn't, I'm lucky I can run the marathon every year. I'd run 6 already. I knew I could run it again the next year, so I wasn't freaking out. I was like, man, that was sad. What do I do? Like, what does this mean for me? And that's when I really sort of did some soul searching about running the marathon every year. And I thought, well, how can I make it more meaningful? Because it does feel sort of selfish. And even if I were raising money for a cause, like, that's not that, like, I want to feel more. I want the race to be tactile in a way that feels more meaningful to me. And that's when it occurred to me, I should see if I can guide for Achilles. And so in 2023, last year, I did that. And immediately, the first time I ran with the athlete and as a training run with him, I was like, oh, this is it. This is why I should be running the marathon. And then getting to the start line before and meeting all the athletes and hearing all their stories just multiplied the experience and the emotional impact of that day by so much. And now I'm really just totally committed to doing that as often as I'm needed. So,
I guess 3 months after your accident, yesterday you ran and guided a 4:02, which just must be the most, I mean, it was an incredible feeling for us to run over the finish line, selfishly for ourselves, and we were both pacing people, but for you to be able to give that experience to someone who wouldn't be able to do it without you being there must have been surreal.
Yeah, it was. There were a couple kind of really interesting moments along the way. One, obviously, was just getting there. Francesco had been, okay, let me go back. So shortly after the accident, I was dealing with a lot, obviously. I'd just been home for a week, so much going on. I finally start responding to the texts that I've been getting for the last few weeks from everyone, wonderfully checking in. How are you? How are you? I get to Francesco and I see he said, hey, I heard everything. How are you? And, I said, hey, I'm not doing so well. This sucks. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm in a neck brace for another 4 weeks. Don't count on me for the marathon, please, this year. Like, find someone else. I don't want the pressure, and I don't know if I'm going to be any good anyway. Yeah. Well, leave it to a blind guy who does triathlons to hold you to it and say, no, you said you were going to do it. You're going to do it. I don't care how slow we go. Like, if I can do it, you could do it.
Well, I think that's just so kind because it was so fantastic because you help him and he's
right,
and it's this mutually beneficial thing. And
so he gave me even just like that idea that, okay, maybe I could, because at that point I was so checked out and assumed that like I didn't know when I'd run again, or I knew I probably would, but I wasn't sure, and I certainly didn't know when it would be. So that was the first moment. I was like, okay, maybe November, I might be feeling up to like a walk jog. I don't know. Anyway, fast forward, I was feeling better. I texted him. I'm like, I think I'm going to be able to do this with you. How fast do you think you're going to go? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. We'll go whatever pace. Anyway, he then ends up getting into really great shape. Me, not so much, but decent shape. And yesterday during the race, where he had in the last 2 marathons really started to sort of bonk around halfway, 15 miles, he starts like picking up the pace and I start bonking. And he ends up like keeping me going through the wall until I kind of reset and got some adrenaline and the crowds picked me up and I like found that second wind. And we ended up doing a negative split for the second half, which was wild.
Which is wild in New York Marathon.
And a 25-minute improvement from our last race in April, which also was a shock and also really cool.
It's almost like you needing the help a little bit pushed him to find another gear.
Totally.
Yeah. And that got him his best race as well.
Yeah, well, it's not his PB, but it is in the last like 3 years. Yeah.
We had a podcast episode with a guy called Yaya Pandor, who is, I think he's the current world record holder for a blind marathon, which is really cool.
No, so he was the fastest or first to run to be a blind athlete to run a marathon while not being tethered to a guide.
I just heard about this.
I think I told you at
you told me this.
One, didn't I? So he had his guide only be able to give him audio kind of support, so communicating without any physical touch, which is incredible.
Which, by the way, Francesco does skiing.
No.
Yeah, he does downhill skiing.
That's
with like someone who has a radio.
I've been skiing in like during the fog, and that's pretty disconcerting. So, wow. Is that your?
Is that my next
task?
Now, yeah. Well, now
you can take him around some moguls.
He really wants me to do a triathlon with him, which I'm open to.
Yeah. Will you do another triathlon?
I should, because I think swimming would be really good for me as part of a cross training routine.
Yeah.
And cardio, because I can run for 3 hours, but 2 laps and I'm winded. It's such a different type of fitness.
And so how old are your children now?
My daughter is 8. My second son is almost 6, and my littlest is 3.
And so is there a little bit of a almost like role reversal whereby you got to watch the marathon with your dad and now your kids are watching you run the marathon and seeing that be such a foundation in your health and that they might be looking up to it and sitting here in 40 years to that time or 30 years time and telling someone else about why they got into their running?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely introduced running into my kids' lives. And my wife, who, by the way, is also a great runner, is finally coming back after an injury that sort of took her out for running and then, having our children. And she's now really getting back into it. She's going to run a half marathon with me in a couple weeks. And now my daughter is asking. She wants to do a 5K. She's excited to lace up.
That must make you really proud.
Cute.
And I'm really hopeful that one of my kids will run a New York City Marathon, or ideally all of them together, which would be the best.
And
you.
You can run with them, right?
I guess, yeah. You know what? I hope to still be running in my late 50s. Yeah.
Like, I managed to run a half Ironman with my dad last year when he was 59.
Wow.
So I reckon you'll be fine.
Okay, great.
And I guess the thing we haven't talked about is all the while with this incredible running journey, you've also been on one of the biggest TV shows
I want to
in
ask
America.
about Catfish.
And I guess,
And the UK.
I guess probably of all the people we've had on the podcast, this is you're the person that I've had the most number of friends be like, I cannot believe you're getting to talk to Nev. So tell us about Catfish.
Well, Catfish has been a bit of a marathon itself. We started filming the show in 2012, and it's just been constant since then. And similarly to running, it's the only job I've ever had that I love making, and I continue to want to do it, and I never get tired of it. And I guess okay at it.
Well, I think that comes as a byproduct of the first piece, which is because you love it, you do great at it.
Right. Yeah.
And if you didn't love it, you wouldn't come up with good ideas. You wouldn't present with the same energy and everything else.
Right. It's amazing. Yeah. I even surprise myself that every time we do an episode, I find the same kind of interest level and excitement to do it. And, it comes from different things. I love being with the crew. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. I love going to strange places and people's homes and exploring new cities. I love going on runs in different cities. Like there's all these elements that make it great. But, yeah, I have never had any other job this long, and I hope to keep doing it as long as I can.
And have you found that then having running alongside has been a good way to almost like have an outlet outside of maybe what can be quite an intense career at times?
Yeah, for sure. Running is my yoga, meditation, therapy, also therapy, but it's one of the forms of therapy that I engage with. And more than anything, I regret the amount of time and attention that I spend online and on my phone. A lot of it is for work, but a lot of it, I think, like everybody, is just a distraction. And when I'm on the road, especially, and I'm staying in a small hotel in a town with very little to nothing happening, I have two options. I can sit in my hotel room, or I can go out into the world. And one of the ways that I prefer to go out into the world is to go for a run and explore these towns and cities, because you can pretty much cover an entire town or city on, in an hour or two run. And I just love being outdoors. I love not looking at my phone. And I love the forced, which in my case, I think it has to be, level of being present that's required when you run, because you have to look in front of you. Your world gets pretty small. I don't listen to music because I like to really listen to my breathing and focus on that. Sometimes I'll get the chorus of a song stuck in my head and I'll just repeat it kind of like a mantra over the course of the run. And my brain kind of goes quiet, and I just not stressed or worried about all the things that I could be. And I'm just running.
Yeah. I think you say you're naturally a good runner or you're naturally good at presenting, but you're just really, I think you're really dedicated. Like, you seem really passionate about running, and like Catfish is such a long-standing series that you've given your heart and soul to that. Like, it's been going on for so long, and you've made it such an iconic show. Surely a lot of it is hard work, both running and presenting.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it's hard. Well, it's confusing to call it hard work when you enjoy it so much. You know, we've all heard the cliche, you know, find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or something like that.
That's exactly it.
Okay. Or do what you love.
Yeah.
Right. Do what you love. Anyway, so I recognize the luck I've had in having Catfish as a career. And then when I discovered running, I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that I love doing that a lot of people don't or find very difficult. And for me, it again comes more easily. And that was actually why a few years ago, everyone knows Alexi Pappas.
Mm-hmm.
I met her at the start line of the New York City Marathon because she always looks fantastic and sparkly and wearing something funny. And I was looking at her and she looked at me and she recognized me and we started chatting. And I went with I met up with her in LA a few months later. We went for a run and she said, hey, why don't you make running like a part of your social media? Because until then I had just not really thought anyone would be interested in my runs. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's just kind of, I just do it for myself. And she said, well, you could kind of make a job out of it. I was like, really? It hadn't even occurred to me. And so she introduced me to her manager, Liam, who runs a great management agency for athletes, who was excited to work with me. And now it's like my job, which is great because I love doing it. So I figured out a way to make it work. And it's like a win-win.
I guess you're just inspiring. Like, you love running and you love running. I love running. Like, it's a way that you can share that feeling that you get to have. And if you can inspire other people to do the same, then you're going to help them live a healthier life. And at the same time, if that means they buy running shoes or do and spend money in that industry, then there's, I guess, profits to be made elsewhere. But I think that the reason why you're doing it is to help people find the love of running that you've got as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's so much more to running that I just starting to realize. Like last year I did my first trail run. It was like an ultra 3-day event.
That's cool.
So cool. And then I did a second one. I did like the Speed Project in Chile last year, which is like a 6-person team relay. I mean, like,
yeah, I did the LA to Vegas one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, for me, it's an adventure, you know, the idea of signing up for new things and new places and having the community that all gets excited about it and the people you meet. I mean, some of my best friends now I've met just because we go on runs. It's great.
And so one of the things you said about the New York Marathon is you like to sign up so that you have a goal in the calendar. Have you committed to next year's race?
Well, no, I haven't. But when Achilles sends out their guide request email, I'll absolutely.
Yeah. But does that mean then you're
respond.
not going to be breaking Casey's new PB?
It's a good question. I was thinking, and I know it might not count, but I could beat him in London, but it won't matter. It's always, the New York City is always going to be our benchmark. So yes, when should I do that, or should I try? I don't know. Let's start with London. Let's get into like PB shape for London. Yep. And then maybe I carry that into the fall and see if there's a Achilles athlete that wants to go sub 3, because that would be amazing.
That would be amazing, but it would make your sub 3 attempt that much harder.
It would, and it wouldn't technically count, which is also a weird rule that we should change, because
what?
Guides don't have official bibs. I don't.
Do you get a medal?
Yeah, but only because they give anyone with. I mean, I have a bib, but like, you can't track me, and it doesn't count towards any like qualifying.
Although you would be tethered to the person you're guiding.
I know.
So therefore, I think Casey will have to shake your hand.
Yes, I think it
given the competition is the competition isn't the Olympics. It's a bet between two mates.
It'll still be an official time as far as anyone's concerned.
Nice.
Between Casey and I and our small group of maniac sub-3 chasers, but yeah, technically it won't go.
Well, it sounds like a very good plan, and it's going to keep you accountable to your fitness for next year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm really more looking forward to London because I've heard it's a little easier.
Have you not done London before?
No, I've never done any other major. Sorry, I've done Boston.
Yeah,
but as a guide, it's much slower. I haven't tried for a PB anywhere else.
I'm biased, but your passion for New York is my passion for London. I think London Marathon is the best major.
Having run both?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's definitely easier. So I've done London Marathon in pouring rain.
Oof.
And even in pouring rain with wet feet before I started, I would say that London was easier than the hills in New York.
Wow. Good to know.
So we have that to look forward to. We're going to segue over to Steph, who's going to come in with our coaching tip of the week.
Oh, great.
Today's tip is to log your running shoe mileage. Old shoes won't offer the same support and cushioning, which can compromise our running style, cause us to run slightly differently, which could potentially lead to an injury or niggle. How many miles you get out of a pair of shoes can vary depending on how you run and the type of shoe you're using, but the gold standard is usually between 300 and 500 miles. By logging the number of miles you've done in each pair of trainers, it can make sure you avoid picking up any injuries or niggles and get a new pair before any issues arise.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with a dilemma sent in from one of our runners, and I'd love to hear both of your, discussion around it. Okay. I'm a runner and a football player, but I recently suffered an ACL injury that sidelined me from both for a while, and recovery has been slow. Some days I feel good, but other days it's tough to stay positive. How do you mentally approach coming back from an injury and keeping your mindset good throughout the process? Obviously very topical.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Well, I guess, my opinion very much as a coach would be, first of all, you really want to make sure that you've got the right advice from medical professionals so that you know where the limit is. Because obviously, if you're a hyper-motivated person, like I guess the three of us are, it can be easy to go beyond the limit. And when you're recovering from something, you need to really stay within the limits to give your body the time to recover. But then I think also having patience, that the body is an incredible thing. And with some injuries, maybe you'll never recover. But it sounds like this person's on a path to recovery, and he's got to have patience that his body will get there. And it's not a linear progress. You might really improve quickly within 2 weeks, and then you have 2 weeks where you see no progress. And then it lingers around for months, and eventually you kind of forget about it, and it's gone. And the path to, I guess, being fully fit again might take longer or less long than you imagine. And I think patience is the other piece. What about yourself?
I think similar to relationships, you have to, if you're committed to it, there are going to be good times, there are going to be bad times, you're going to be injured, you're going to be healthy, but if the goal is to stay with it and to have as long and happy a relationship with sports as you can, just accept that, okay, right now is a darker time, I'm not doing exactly what I love, and maybe look for other things that you can do. So maybe transition into swimming or cycling, if those are, other ways that you can still get that adrenaline, get that sort of competitiveness, into your life that maybe aren't as hazardous or painful for your injury.
Yeah.
Love that. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
No, I fully agree. I love the analogy of the relationship. I think I'm better at running than relationships, though.
Oh, you should apply your passion for running to your relationship.
Well, I'm going to download an app. No, I'm doing. Okay, moving on before I make myself look even more silly. Okay, so we're going to do some of our this or that's. We're going to start off with, would you rather do all of your running in the city or in nature?
Can we just clarify, when you say nature, you mean still road running?
All your running in the hustle and bustle of New York and the city.
Metropolis or suburbia.
Yeah.
Got it. That's tough. would probably, if I really had to choose, I would say suburban nature. But it's so unrealistic for me. Because my number one obstacle in going for a run is, can I go from where I am? If I have to drive or even ride my bike to get to the run, it makes it a lot less exciting for me. Like that barrier of entry just really prevents me. But if I can walk out my door and start running, I do it all the time. So as long as I live in a city, I would do city. But if I guess I lived in the country, I would prefer to do that.
And you live in the city right now?
I do. I live in the city.
So does that mean you're choosing the city?
Well, currently my...
Okay, forever. You can never run in the countryside if you choose the city, and you can never run in the city if you choose the countryside.
Okay, I'll choose city.
Okay, so we're now basically debating where do you want to live for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, okay.
And are you picking the city or the
The
countryside?
city, but like a park. I want a park in the city.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
we're
a good
allowing
point.
we're allowing
Right.
Central Park for you, and we're allowing
Central
Battersea Park
Park,
for you.
Yeah.
the West Side Highway up the river. I mean, yeah, New York City does not have a lot of great running infrastructure, but I found the sort of routes that have at least bike lanes and fewer obstacles than others. But yeah, I would love to be closer to the park.
I guess it really does come back to where you live, because I'm picking the park or the countryside.
Right.
But then I've also chosen to live in the suburbs
Right.
outside of the centre of
Yeah.
London. So
Yeah.
there we are. I guess we're basically choosing where to live based on where we want to run. So that is the most important criteria when you choose where to
it
live. Okay, next one. Would you rather lose one toenail every time you run, or every 10th run lose all your toenails and then you get 9 good runs?
Look at Ben's
Well,
feet.
I don't mind losing toenails that much.
But so you don't mind it being like a continuous feature, or just like a bad run every so often?
Oh,
So like one toenail every time?
but you would know oh, this is my 10th run.
Yeah.
you might just stop running on the 9th. You might be on your like 79th run and be like, I'm not doing 80 because I'm going to lose all 10.
Well, is there a distance that like?
No.
It's just like you lace up and you take that first step and your nails just all fly off?
You get in and your toes are black, kind of like mine right now.
Because
And
it's hard to determine exactly when the nail sort of...
we'll classify
Right.
a run as over 5k.
Okay.
So every time you run beyond 5k, you lose a nail.
3
Or
miles.
every 10th time, 3 miles. Or every 10th time you run over 3 miles, you lose all 10 in
I
one
think
go.
it would be better to lose them one at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, so
That
just
way it's
all-
just, you just
but-
kind of...
But your love of running just gets associated with just like a continuous
But
inconvenience.
I'd rather that than the sort of fear of the upcoming run.
Yeah, but you're not going to have the fear of every upcoming run rather than the fear of 1 in 10.
But I think you would acclimate. You would just
Yeah.
become so comfortable with the toenail, the one toenail each time, that it wouldn't matter. You'd just be like, all right, whatever. Because you're probably running at least once or twice a week. So it's just becomes part of your daily routine.
It's like brushing your
almost.
teeth.
Right.
You just remove the
Yeah.
toenail, chuck it in the bin, and
Yeah.
brush your teeth at the
The
end of the
question is,
day.
how quickly do they grow back?
Yeah.
They'd have to grow back pretty fast, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're running twice a
Right,
week,
right.
and then you basically need new toenails every 2 weeks. A full new set.
I like getting the new ones when they come in. It feels...
This is far too close to
Yeah.
home. Right. Okay, the last one. This is actually quite
I also
complicated
kinda
to wrap
like
my...
I like when it gets loose like a tooth and you know it's time and you just sort of like,
peel it off. And you know,
Yeah.
when they come off clean, and it's really quite satisfying.
yeah.
Although the worst, I don't know if you've had this, is where they're kind of clinging on in a corner.
Oh, yeah, I've
and
had
you
it.
really got to
And you're
yank
like,
that
ooh,
off.
well, you can't go back.
No, because
have
you
to
can't just
commit.
have a floppy
Right.
toenail like clinging on by the corner.
When you're in bed at night and it like it catches on something and...
I had the scrapbook where I'd keep memorable items, and
Oh
my
my
toenail
God,
came off,
stop.
and I've stuck it in a scrapbook.
You've
This is
saved
years
your
ago.
toenails?
Yeah.
Do you still have them?
No, I've got one that's stuck in there.
Oh
There's
my
some
God.
really weird
I
things in the
don't think you
scrapbook.
should say that online.
There's weirder things in that scrapbook.
God, you've now got no Instagram followers.
or a lot more.
Yeah, that's a good point. You might be, yeah. You've
Yeah. You might not want these Instagram followers.
Yeah,
but-
you've been catfished or something like that.
Right,
On this note, I feel like you need to ask this one because I'm still slightly confused by what we're asking here.
Right, I've got it. Okay. Would you rather get catfished by a marathon race or run a marathon and have to stop with 1 mile to go? And by catfish by a marathon race, I mean you turn up ready for New York Marathon,
and it's something else.
It's just like not a thing, and it's not there,
right?
And
Or it's
a fake thing.
They've catfished you. So you've been like, you sign up for this marathon, you're at the start line, and there's absolutely nothing going on, but you've just nailed your training.
But you've got to do it.
Oof.
So you're just running.
You mean just running a
it's just like you're
unsanctioned.
You literally turn up
right.
in Central Park. There's 0 other people who have turned
Right.
up for this thing. There's no email receipt. You've been completely catfished.
Wow.
Or run New York, but you have to pull out at the 25th mile.
But trained as aggressively for both.
Well, you trained because you thought
right.
it was it was the New York, or you thought it was the marathon that's catfished you. So your training's phenomenal. Pull out on 25 miles, or just run your 26 on your own.
Oh. I think I'd rather run by myself.
And get catfished.
Yeah, I'd rather get race fished or catfished or whatever it is. Because I'm used to doing that. I'm, typically running on my own anyway. But to run 25 miles knowing that you're not going to get to finish the last mile.
But you're going to finish your catfish marathon, and then be like, well, there we are. No one's even there to give you a high five at the end.
But Strava sees it. Yeah.
Okay.
Through the kudos.
Okay, if you weren't allowed to
can't
upload
post it?
you can't post it. You've either got to run your catfish marathon, and then
that changes
and there's
things.
no one to tell you well done. Like no one. Like you get home, and you get home to your wife, and she's like, I don't believe you.
Right.
And so she's in on it. She's in on the. She's with the marathon organizer. She's with the MTV guys.
All right, then I would.
And they've completely
if
got
that's
you.
the case, then I would run the New York City Marathon, and I wouldn't. When I have to pull out of the marathon, I would just run my own.
No.
Oh.
You finish the marathon, and
They shackle your legs.
they put you down. They put you in a chair, and they pause your watch. And they upload it to Strava. 25 miles. Neve could not finish.
Those are. I don't. I think probably still the solo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just for because it's only for me anyway. I'll know.
Well, it's only for you, but like
I'll know.
90% of it was wanting the Strava.
And then I'll do what Casey did last year, which is I'll immediately find the next marathon I can sign up for,
Okay.
and I'll run the next weekend.
I think there's a good video in this. I think especially the kind of like behind the scenes of you go home and you're like, honey, you wouldn't believe it. I turned up to that marathon I've been like going to bed early for the last like 3 months, and there was no one there.
No one.
Completely booked the wrong thing.
I'm sure, yeah, people probably show up to things like the wrong day.
Well, I hope when you go to Egypt for your half marathon,
Oh my God.
there is someone other than just the odd camel in the desert, and they're expecting you.
But I'm still going to be in Egypt.
So you've had an amazing journey with your running to date. Lots of New York marathons. We've got some exciting races in the diary coming up. If we could fast forward 10 years, what would you like to achieve with your running?
Well, I've just been invited to join the advisory board of Achilles. And the attention and interest that I've generated in Achilles over the last 2 years has been incredible. And I'm so proud that I've been able to do that. So I'd like to do more. And I think there's a lot more to do. And I'd love to, at some point, organize a race of my own, whether it's with Achilles or some other organization. I think there's just a lot more community building and helping people that I can do through running. So if in 10 years I'm doing that and people, when they think of me, I don't know if I'll still be doing Catfish, but I'd love, if I'm not still doing Catfish, that when people see me or hear my name, they say, oh, that's the guy that does that incredible work with Achilles and running. I'd love for that to be my next identifying achievement.
Yeah.
I love that. And then I guess coupled with that, you also want a time.
I also need to beat Casey Neistat. I want to be holding the record for fastest marathon. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. But so over 10 years, what you mean is you want him to beat you 9 times and for you to beat him 10 times
Right.
with the best time in 10 years.
Right. So
You're both like 2:20 marathon runners and he's a 2:21.
So right, and 2034, I'll have just turned 50 because I just turned 40. So I'll start my 50s with a PB that will be faster than Casey's.
Yeah.
But it will be the world record.
The world record?
World record for the fastest 50-year-old.
Oh, well, I know that guy. I don't.
wow.
There was a few guys, but Ken, do you know
What
Ken
is it? What
Rideout?
is the world record?
I don't know what it is, but he runs like a 2:23 or something.
Okay,
I mean,
so quite a big shot.
We'll
leave that bit out. I'll scratch that bit off. Okay, well, no, that sounds like an amazing legacy to leave. And I guess maybe coupled with that, the next question would be: you can design your dream race. How far is it? Where is it? What food do you get at the finish line? And who gives out the trophies for your dream running race?
Okay. Wow. Does it have to be based in present day reality, or can it be?
Oh, I like that.
Anywhere.
Anything.
Is it in VR?
Well,
Is it on the moon?
well, yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, could it really be anything?
Anywhere. Your dream race.
I think it would probably be. It'd be in New York. It would. I don't know how long it would be because I have it's sort of location based, but I'd love to run. I'd love it to start in the home in Westchester where I spent the first few years of my life, and go to the apartment that I then moved to when I was 3, and then the apartment I moved to when I was 10, and then end at like kind of go to all the homes I've lived in, and I'd love to have all of my family members living and deceased, especially my grandparents, at the finish line with my kids who they never got to meet, to like have it be sort of a really amazing family reunion.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So no one really needs to do it except your family.
Right.
Yeah.
And your grandparents are giving out the trophy.
Exactly.
What food would there be?
Oh, yeah. Let's get to the important
questions.
stuff. I mean, I'm pretty simple when it comes to food items. I mean, just a great New York City slice of pizza is really all I need.
Well, that sounds like a fantastic day.
That would be great.
Well,
Although if my grandpa Marvin's there, we'd probably have Chinese. He loved Chinese food.
Both.
But we also can
Let's
have
not be
Chinese
selfish
food.
now.
Yeah. I should accommodate him.
Well, that would be amazing. Well, Nev, first of all, huge congrats on an amazing run yesterday. Amazing recovery. And we cannot wait to see how you get on in Egypt. We cannot wait to be by your side in London. And then we cannot wait for you to go and take down Casey's record.
Right by my
within
side.
the next 10 years.
In London, right?
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm by your side.
You're on the record pacing me.
I'm very, very happy
Okay.
to do that.
Great.
Assuming we get me a place, I'm by your side.
Okay, yeah. Well, we got to you and me both.
Yeah, well, there we are.
There you go.
If anyone can
I'll
help
see
us
you
out,
there.
let us know. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And like I
Great
said,
chat.
well done again yesterday, and have a great running 2020, rest of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait. We're already into the 2025 season. Yeah.
Amazing.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Runna. If you want to train for any goal, download the app today. And don't forget, you can use the code RUNNAPODCAST for a 2-week free trial.
Whether you enjoyed the episode or not, please like, share, follow, subscribe, do all of that nonsense, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening.
I don't have a favorite song to run to. It's whatever song pops into my head that day. It could be anything. Lately, it's been a song called "Good Morning" that my kids are obsessed with. It's just like a kid's song. It's great.
You're gonna sing it for us?
Yeah, I can sing it.
Here you go.
Good morning. Good morning. Today's gonna be a great day. Good morning. Good morning. Nothing's gonna get in my way. Each morning is truly special, beautiful and brand new. Yes, I am so happy to spend this day with you. Good, catchy.
Wow, you made it all the way to the end of the podcast. And so for all of our loyal listeners, we have a special 15% off all of our Runner merchandise. If you want to look as cool as Anya, then go and use the code MyFastSocks for 15% off all of our Runner merchandise. And thank you again for listening.